No one plans to build an empire on the ashes of a tragedy, but on the chessboard of cutthroat capitalism, the worst crises are usually the opening of a brilliant gambit. In 1932, Denmark faced the brutal ripples of the Great Depression, and master carpenter Ole Kirk Christiansen looked at the remains of his bankrupt furniture factory, consumed by a devastating fire. He had lost his business, his wife, and his family's stability. All he had left were scraps of wood, a few old tools, and a silent obsession with perfection. In a move of pure psychological survival, Ole decided to sacrifice the large pieces, the expensive furniture that no one else could buy, to move a seemingly insignificant pawn. Small, handmade wooden toys, carved with the rigor of someone building cathedrals. He named his new gamble Lego, an amalgam of the Danish phrase "leg godt," which means play well, unaware that he was drawing up the first rules of a global game that would last for centuries. As Europe marched at a fast pace toward World War II, the small Billund workshop operated under a near-religious mantra carved into the wood. Only the best is good enough. Each toy duck, each little truck that left those calloused hands received 3 layers of automotive lacquer, an absurd luxury for a time of extreme scarcity. It wasn't just a matter of artisanal craftsmanship. It was pure market psychology. Ole understood that when the outside world is falling apart, parents sacrifice their own sustenance to guarantee their children a fraction of order, beauty, and control. But Lego's true strategic checkmate would not come from a romantic persistence in wood, but rather from the courage to abandon it completely when fate burned down his factory for the second time in 1942. In the corporate chess game, traditionalists die clinging to their boards, but visionaries spot obsolescence before it becomes their death sentence. At the end of the war, Ole crossed eyes with a revolutionary British technology that most craftsmen considered cheap, cold, and soulless: the injection-molded plastic machine. Investing an amount that corresponded to more than twice his company's annual profit into a single machine, Lego bought the right to make mistakes on an industrial scale, swapping the organic warmth of the forest for the mathematical and infinite precision of polymer plastic. The most important piece of the game had just been moved. Plastic gave Lego something that wood never could offer: immortality and absolute standardization. Under the command of Godfred Kirk Christiansen, Ole's son, the company refined the design until reaching the perfect mathematical formula in 1958, introducing the inner tubes that allowed the blocks to snap together tightly yet pull apart easily, the so-called clutch power. God does not play dice, and neither does Lego. The manufacturing tolerance of a block was reduced to a mere 2 micrometers, ensuring that a piece manufactured today fits perfectly with one produced 70 years ago. Godfred was not selling an isolated toy. He had discovered the Lego system of play, an open platform where every new box purchased geometrically expanded the value of all the previous boxes the customer already owned. For decades, this psychological and product engineering transformed Lego into a seemingly unbeatable fortress, dominating the European and American markets like a force of nature. Success, however, is a highly toxic substance that usually blinds generals at the top of their ivory towers. As the 1980s and 1990s progressed, the original patents for the blocks began to expire, opening the gates for low-cost competitors who flooded the market with identical copies at a fraction of the price. Instead of consolidating its defenses and focusing on the essence of the system that made them kings, Lego's leadership panicked and made the most dangerous move of the mid-game, trying to guess the desires of a new generation of consumers who were discovering video games. The backstage of Billund transformed into a laboratory of corporate arrogance. Believing that the traditional block was dead, the company hired avant-garde designers who did not understand the brand's culture, removed the classic compatibility of its pieces, and diversified its portfolio into clothing, watches, theme parks, and hyper-specialized toy lines that did not connect with one another. Lego increased the number of unique pieces from 6,000 to over 12,000, inflating inventory costs catastrophically. They had forgotten the first rule of strategic chess. When trying to attack in all directions at the same time, you leave your own king completely unprotected for the counterattack. In early 2003, the plastic fortress was bleeding from the inside. Lego accumulated an astronomical debt of nearly $1 billion, and sales had plummeted 30% in a single year. The market reacted with the typical coldness of financial predators. Analysts openly decreed the brain death of the Danish company, claiming that the digital era had buried physical toys forever. Behind the scenes in Billund, the atmosphere was that of an imminent funeral. Secrets about logistical inefficiency leaked to the press, and accumulated stock suffocated cash flow. The empire that survived the Great Depression and 2 real fires was about to be destroyed by the invisible smoke of mismanagement. The check to the king seemed definitive. It was at this moment of paralysis that the owning family understood that, to save the dynasty, it needed to abdicate the operational throne. In an unprecedented and humiliating move for Nordic pride, they sidelined the old executives and handed command over to Jørgen Vig Knudstorp, a former McKinsey consultant of only 36 years who had never led a toy factory in his life. Knudstorp did not look at Lego as a toy manufacturer, but as a system of logical rules. Upon auditing the company, he discovered tragic anomalies. The company was losing money on every box of complex lines produced, while the classic, cheap pieces sustained what was left of the business. Unbridled innovation had become a metabolic cancer. The tension in the board meetings during that transition was palpable. Knudstorp had to make bloody decisions that shattered internal reputations. He laid off more than 1/3 of the global workforce, sold the luxurious Legoland theme parks to raise emergency capital, and applied an unforgiving guillotine over the product portfolio, drastically reducing the catalog of pieces back to mathematical simplicity. He knew that the market does not forgive excess vanity. For Bahodsodder, the king, to survive on the board, Lego needed to sacrifice its most expensive pieces and return to the original square of the game, the humble plastic block of perfect interlocking design. Lego's turnaround in the following years entered the annals of business history as the greatest recovery of a consumer brand in modern history. Knudstorp and his team executed a surgical counterattack based on 2 brilliant psychological premises. First, they realized that the block did not compete against the digital world, but could ally with it through deep licensing partnerships with pop culture titans like Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Marvel, transforming the act of building toys into a collectible narrative experience. Second, and most importantly, they rediscovered their most loyal and silent consumer, the adult. By embracing the community of mature fans, Lego stopped being a children's toy to become a passport of nostalgia, status, and neurological connection for engineers, architects, and stressed professionals of the 21st century. Today, Lego produces more than 60 billion blocks a year, operating with profit margins that are the envy of the largest tech companies in Silicon Valley. The grand lesson that the Billund journey leaves for the geopolitical and business chessboard is that longevity does not belong to those who never change, nor to those who change everything at the first sign of a storm. True resilience lies in the ability to identify what your king piece is, that non-negotiable essence which, if removed, destroys the entire structure. For Lego, this essence was never the wood nor the plastic, but rather the abstract concept of an infinite system of possibilities contained within the smallest of spaces. In the end, Lego's story teaches us that life and business operate under the same rigid rules of a high-performance chess game. Each crisis is a test of structure, each decision is a necessary sacrifice, and every piece, no matter how insignificant it may seem at the start of the match, can carry the weight of the final checkmate. If you know exactly how your pieces connect and remain faithful to your fundamental geometry, no market force or fire of fate will be able to break your empire. If you want to understand the backstage moves that shape the biggest brands and empires on the planet, your next move is simple. Leave your opinion about this strategy in the comments below. Click the subscribe button so you don't get caught in check in the next videos, and join our club of strategists. The board is set, and the next move is yours.